Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Edo State, where in a stunning turn of events, the political landscape has been dramatically reshaped by two landmark court rulings. The Federal High Court in Abuja has delivered judgments that have sent shockwaves through the state's corridors of power, addressing both the contentious impeachments of Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu and the disputed candidacy of Dr. Asue Ighodalo for the upcoming gubernatorial elections. First, in a ruling that has been hailed as a victory for democracy and the rule of law, the court affirmed Dr. Asue Ighodalo's candidacy for the September 2024 governorship elections. This decision not only validates Ighodalo's position, but also upholds the credibility of the PDP's primary elections held on February 22, 2024 at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City. Now, the People's Democratic Party has enthusiastically embraced this verdict, viewing it as a confirmation of their internal democratic processes and a reflection of the will of Edo State's citizens.
All right. Now, in a parallel development that has sent ripples through the state's administrative structure, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja voided the impeachment of Philip Shaibu as Deputy Governor of Edo State. Now, the court's decision, which ordered Shaibu's immediate reinstatement, was based on the failure of the Edo State House of Assembly to comply with due process during the impeachment proceedings. This ruling not only reinstates Shaibu, but also nullifies the appointment of his replacement and mandates the payment of his outstanding salaries and allowances. And so, the court's decision on Shaibu's case goes further, issuing a permanent injunction that bars Governor Godwin Obaseki and the Edo State House of Assembly from interfering with Shaibu's ability to carry out his duties as deputy governor. This protective measure ensures Shaibu's rights and responsibilities in office are safeguarded, marking a significant shift in the power dynamics within the state government.
So these twin rulings have ignited a firestorm of political activities and public discourse across Edo State. The PDP's celebration of the Ighodalo verdict contrasts sharply with the complex implications of Shaibu's reinstatement, setting the stage for a potentially tumultuous period in Edo politics. As this dust settles, questions arise about the long-term impact of these decisions on the state's governance and the upcoming gubernatorial race.
All right. And so to further, reach deeper into this development and discuss about their implications, we're honored to welcome three. It should have been three distinguished guests, but we only have two. We should have had a special advisor to the Edo State Governor on media projects, and that's Crusoe Osagie. But unfortunately, he turned down to attend this interview last minute, saying only him should be on the panel of discussion, which would be unfair when it comes to right of reply and journalists, something that Mr. Osagie knows very well, as he's a veteran in media and journalism. But to that effect, we have two people on our panel of discussion discussing this morning. We have Kabir Akingbolu. He's a respected legal practitioner. And we also have Honorable Andrew Emwanta. He is the Deputy Director of Publicity for the Edo State APC Campaign Council. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us for this discussion this morning.
So
good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Emwanta, let's start with you as you are with us on a line. Let's get your brief, please, if you can, take on the entire situation in Edo State, Shaibu's reinstatement, and also Ighodalo's candidacy being rightfully given back to him.
Yeah, thank you, and good morning to the hosts, my colleague on the other side, and to our viewers at home. I think I would prefer to start with the last, which has to do with Asue Ighodalo's candidacy, and to correct that very erroneous impression that has been created. And I can quickly tell you why that impression is erroneous. I was in court that day when that verdict was delivered on the issue of a certificate forgery case, right? What the court was to determine was whether Asue's forged voter's card, because we've gone past the issue of whether he forged his voter's card. It's a settled issue because when he was summoned by the court to give evidence, he refused to come. And remember, he has a criminal case of forgery at the Wuse Chief Magistrate Court, for which the court has directed the police to investigating. And so far, the report has not been returned to the court. So the civil case in court was the one for which the court gave verdict. What the court did was to decline jurisdiction. because the matter was brought under Section 29 of the Electoral Act, which allows an aspirant who is aggrieved that his fellow aspirants submitted forged documents on constitutional requirements. So I think what the court wanted to look at was the provision of Section 182 sub 1 paragraph I that has to do with when you submit the forged certificates. The Constitution did not say if it's a birth certificate, it did not say if it's a school certificate, or if it is a voting certificate, which the voter's card is, because the voter card certifies that you are eligible to vote. So the lawyer, as I was informed, has already filed an appeal to now consider if having forged a voter's card, that does not mean he has forged a certificate within the meaning of Section 182 sub 2 paragraph I. So that is a bit contentious. And you must remember that just recently, Justice Ekwo of the Federal High Court delivered a decision, a final judgment concerning the PDP's ad hoc delegate congress, which the court invalidated. And as I speak to you, 4 appeals have been filed before the Court of Appeal. I'm not one of the lawyers handling the appeal, so I can comment on that judgment because by the grace of God, I was one of the lawyers involved in that case. So it is not right to say that Asue remains a valid candidate of the PDP when there are 4 appeals. It is for the Court of Appeal to decide. So this certificate or voters card forgery case, there's no way the court would have affirmed him because the court just declared jurisdiction. So as for the impeachment case, it's clear that the court has ruled and given the final verdict that Philip Shaibu remains the Deputy Governor of Edo State. And Crusoe walked out on the program yesterday. I saw that thing which has gone viral. Very rude. He was asked a simple question. Was there an application for stay? And he walked out on a live interview. That was very embarrassing. As Commissioner for Information, I was his boss. And I can tell you when he was talking about NBC rule, this is the same guy who, because of 10% NBC kickbacks, started having personal issues with me because I insisted that NBC dues should be paid directly to the remitter account, which I did. So when he was talking about reporting your TV station to NBC rules, that was just a case of somebody trying to be more Catholic than the Pope. We know all these dirty things they do. Why would you walk out on a national live TV? And he has refused to come today because he was one that spread that fake news that the courts affirmed Asue Ighodalo. And I think people like that should be sanctioned. He's not a journalist because he's a quack. If he's a journalist, the relevant authorities would have sanctioned him for some of all these hideous things he does.
Mr. Emwanta, you're making very heavy allegations. You just said that Mr. Osagie was the one who spread the rumor that the court affirmed Asue Ighodalo.
Exactly. Even when the impeachment decision was given, we were still in court when they said they had filed an appeal and a stay of execution. It was yesterday I got the certified true copy of the ruling. So how did they get, a document to file stay? Why did he walk out on your program yesterday? Because he was the one that issued that statement saying that there's a stay of execution. And I think he should, because I don't know who will sanction him because he's not a journalist. So I cannot be calling on the Nigerian Union of Journalists, or I cannot be calling on any other statutory body that his SM media does not qualify him as a journalist.
And thank you, Mr. Emwanta. Yes, you are correct. He actually did walk out on the HQ program here on News Central yesterday. Politics HQ yesterday evening. You are correct. However, let me bring my attention to the studio here where we have Mr. Kabir here with us. And I want to talk about the Shaibu instance now. 2 courts, 2 rulings. Shaibu has been reinstated, even if he has only just up until September to go. He's also been reinstated, and not only just back as the deputy governor, but with everything that he might have lost, his benefits, and also with police backing as well, and oddlies and all of that. However, what does that say for the political climate in Edo right now, since the PDP is still holding that they still have Godwill as their own deputy, as the deputy governor for Edo State? Well, what gives now, and what's going to happen with this disparity? Well,
I can tell you, first things first, on the issue of the impeachment saga, you see, when you see this kind of thing, law, that is why the law is there and that's why the court is there. You understand? And when you want to impeach a governor or a president or a local government chairman and all that, there are procedures laid down by the Constitution. When you breach one of them, there is no how the impeachment will stand. And in most cases, in order to get a kind of pirate victory, the governors rush things. They don't want to know whether the procedure exists or not. That is why you can see in the country, thank God, to God be, I think I'm one of the good players in all these, in this kind of areas. Most of the election and the impeachment proceedings in Nigeria have been quashed by our court. If you look at the case of Inoleke, Inokoju and Adeleke, the impeachment of Ladoja, for 9 months he was impeached illegally. The court found out that they took the sitting out of the government house to the Rovers Hotel to go and sit there to make a pronouncement and impeach Ladoja. He was outside for 9 months. He went to court. The court reinstated him, but by the time he was reaching Supreme Court, it was almost time to pack up. But he turned out to pack up. And because I couldn't get his ticket for the second time. The former deputy governor of Bayelsa State under, what's the name of the former minister of petroleum, is a deputy too, was impeached. The impeachment was nullified because at the time the impeachment proceeding was going in court, was going on at the house, the court has already nullified, it was hearing cases when he was already challenging his impeachment moves. The impeachment went on when the matter was still pending in court. The court nullified the impeachment. So many things like that. Fauci was impeached in 2006. Only in 2018 was he reinstated by the Supreme Court. Or 2019 in the governorship election. Now, when you look at all this, they will give notice, 14 days notice of impeachment to the deputy governor or president as the deputy vice president as the case may be. He will have to respond within that period of time. You can't just give notice today and say respond tomorrow. But what the governor used to do is, do it quickly, I want him out of the way.
That was the case here.
That was the case here.
Now, if that was the case here, then what you're saying is that Obaseki's claim is then correct, where he says even putting the 14 days notice aside.
There are a lot of,
He noted that he does not have faith in Philip Shaibu, and that's why he cannot continue to advocate for him
or have him as
deputy. Is he correct? What are, especially this matter of the section 188 when they say gross misconduct,
yes,
and it's so arbitrary. What exactly is section 188? What provision did he contravene? We are not being told.
Yeah,
what was it exactly?
You see, in section 188 sub 11 is tantamount to section, is another, the corresponding section for presidency is 143. 143.11, 1 to 11. Sub 11 is the last on that section. When you look at that section, what you mentioned, if the governor or deputy governor is guilty of gross misconduct, unfortunately, from section 1 to the end to the schedule of the Constitution, there was nowhere gross misconduct was explicitly defined. So it's now left to whoever is in charge, who wants your head. You understand? It's a kind of subjective thing. And when you talk of subjectivity, there is no rationale for it. You just do whatever you like. I can remember vividly in year 2000, the Speaker of House of Assembly in Kano State was impeached because he was bleaching. They say it's gross misconduct. That he was bleaching as a Speaker of the House of Assembly, and he was impeached based on that ground. So, to come to your question, the gross misconduct, you are not laying any hard fact before the tribunal or before the House of Assembly. You must lay your fact, whether violation of the Constitution, whether corruption, abuse of office, those things we qualify as abuse of office. But when you just say because you can't work with him, how does it come? The people voted for him, don't forget. It was not you who made him deputy governor. It was the people. Don't forget, during the time of Obasanjo, when he said Atiku joined, cross-carpeted or joined the AC then, ACN, he said, I have sacked you as my vice president. Atiku went to court. The Supreme Court said, no, you can't sack a vice president in a casual and cavalier manner like that. There are procedures under our law. And once any of these procedures are breached, is breached, then automatically the impeachment becomes invalid and void.
Now, let me come to you. I'm going to come back to you and ask about the judgment, or rather the ruling now, and the court ordering that the deputy be paid his outstanding payment. I wonder what the process would be like in ensuring or compliance with the state government.
The issue is this: we have a problem with our law in Nigeria, generally, not only on this. When you want to enforce a court decision, there is nobody no statutory body that can help you to realize the fruit of your labor. You have to send a letter to the police commissioner of the state or whatever will have to approve for give you some police before you can enforce. I think the High Court or the courts of various states should have marshals, their own standard, a kind of group that can do that. So the police will have to help you, but I can tell you, as if practically speaking, the enforcement will not take place until when he has left the office. The only thing he'll be entitled to is to take his money, just like Ladoja did. The Ladoja was asking, having been illegally pushed out of office for 9 months, right, I want to spend 9 months. They said no, you can only take salary for those months. Your tenure cannot be investigated. Let's
switch gears now and turn our focus now to Honorable Emwanta, who is the Deputy Director for the APC campaign council. We're going on a very short break very quickly, but before we do that, let me quickly just ask you let me ask you in this very quickly, Honorable Emwanta. And the government or the Edo State government have said that they would maintain status quo and they're not going to return to the court ruling. What does this mean for the upcoming election and APC's involvement in the state, in the Edo State politics and governance terrain?
Yeah, before we go, let me just quickly say this, and before I give an answer to that question, I think my learned colleague has said something which I don't totally agree with when he said that there's no clear definition of the phrase gross misconduct under the Constitution. The Constitution does not end in the ouster clause in 188 sub 10. Sub 11 defines what gross misconduct is, and it's in two planes. First, it says it's a gross violation or breach of the Constitution, which gives the court the opportunity of interpreting that particular provision as the court did in the Shaibu's case, or a misconduct, which in the opinion of the House, so it gives the House of Assembly a discretion. It is when that discretion is abused that first plaint, the court cannot interpret it, because when all is used in the statute, it has a disjunctive connotation. And just also correct the impression that the judgment needs to be implemented. Already, the Deputy Governor has resumed office. Yesterday, received the National Chairman of the APC, and he's operating from his office. He's discharging his official duties. The day before, immediately after the judgment, he'll restore, because the court said all his aides should be restored. He'll be appointed all his aides. And I know by next week, he has been invited to a meeting in Abuja. The court said he was never impeached. That's what the court said. He was elected by Edo people. He has a 4-year mandate like Obaseki. He was elected on a joint ticket. He's not an appointee. It is when he's an appointee, you will now say, the person who appointed him will now allow him to come back. The court ordered the Inspector General of Police to restore his security, which the Inspector General of Police have already complied with. When he went to Benin, it was the Commissioner of Police that received him. So that judgment has been implemented. So the people in Obaseki's government, particularly Crusoe, who is saying that there's no stay of execution. The evidence that there's no stay became obvious when Crusoe ran away from the program when he was asked that simple question, if that application of stay was granted.
The question that was asked, please, if you could please answer that. If the APC continues on their path and say, no, we're not going to adhere to this court ruling, what does it say for the elections coming in September?
And when you say the APC, are you referring to, can you just give me an understanding of that question?
The PDP is saying that they're not going to go on with the court ruling and they maintain status quo. Heading towards the elections, which is coming up in September, what does this mean for the electionary terrain, as well as the state's politics and the governance in the state for the APC?
They don't have a choice. It was INEC that was the first defender in that case. And I know very soon INEC will take out the name of the PDP candidates from its portal, because that's a practice. When there's a court order, it's usually the practice for INEC to take out the name of the candidates, and it puts court order in that space. So I know it's an administrative issue that INEC is dealing with. That was why they rushed to court to file for appeals. We remember in Zamfara what happened. In Rivers, it happened in Rivers. Just recently in Plateau, it happened. So Edo will not be an exception. So the election will hold if a candidate or its party fails to do the right thing. It will not prevent an election from holding. You have 16 political parties participating in the election, and PDP is just one out of the 16. In Plateau, did they not invalidate the primaries of all their House of Assembly members? And the tribunal eventually said PDP, the first runner of the APC was the one that now occupied the seats in the Plateau House of Assembly. So it's quite unfortunate because political parties have been advised to adhere strictly, by their rules, their constitution, and the Electoral Act. So it is the failure of this that has made PDP to be in this very bad situation. And of course, the chairman of the campaign council, the Adamawa State Governor, said it's a major setback. That word underlined, major setback.
Speaking of rules and adhering to due process, what is your stance on the PDP primaries that produced Ighodalo? It's been found that there were irregularities with their primaries with different court rulings. But what is the APC stance on that, on their primaries?
I think I can assure you that before the end of next week, you will know the position of my party, the APC, on this. Because in the eye of the law, PDP does not have a candidate. And they will not participate in the election. And if you notice, they have stopped campaigning. That's why they have now resorted to violence. The APC candidate went to visit the Oba to congratulate him on those 2 artifacts that the University of Iowa, returned. On the 15th of July was when that artifact was returned. Remember, 2 days ago, the APC candidate was ambushed at the entrance of the Benin Airport by agents sponsored by the Obaseki-led government. Why? Because he went to congratulate the Oba. So they are not in the race. The only thing they do is political violence. And I think the federal government must rein in these elements.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we can't go any further because we are pressed for time and we have sports in the news coming up. I want to say thank you very much, Honorable Emwanta, and also Mr. Kabir for coming in. I was honestly, I really needed to ask about the rumors about a defection in the air that we've been hearing about, but unfortunately, we don't have time for that.
Defection about
Well, the Deputy Governor, we can call him that now, Mr. Shaibu himself. It's a rumor, but if that was to happen real quick, what would this mean?
No, if it happens, then while in the case of House of Assembly or legislators, he will lose his seat. There is no such provision for the governorship in that circumstance. And on the issue of misconduct that my learned friend talked about, I am still saying there is nowhere it was defined. He also said it, that if in the opinion of, which means a subjective test that we have there. So, and again, when you talk about the orders of court, it is neither here nor there, because if there is a stay against the judgment, INEC will be wrong to remove his name from the list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kabir. And thank you very much, Honorable Emwanta. And that's as much as we can take for this discussion regarding the Edo politics, Shaibu versus Ighodalo, or rather not versus, but on the rulings that the court has proceeded to come forth with. Thank you very much, gentlemen, once again.